First name, Susie. Bye, Dad.
Bye, Susie.
You are beautiful, Susie 7.
I was 14 years old when I was murdered.
You're the Salmon Girl, right?
On December 6, 1973.
Cyrus and Bones. Lovely bones.
Them bones, them lovely bones.
So is the work of the Lord.
Or something. They're not specific, but clearly some sort of supernatural agency is involved.
I know, yeah. Why you over there laughing, man? This isn't a funny matter here.
It's not?
No.
I thought this was a crazy slapstick comedy.
No, this movie deals with the death of a 15-year-old girl.
Woohoo! Wackiness ensues.
And craziness ensues. Well, it's kind of close. Well, maybe not wackiness, but this is based on a novel by a woman named, I think, Alice Sebold is her name.
Yeah, Sebold.
Yeah. And
Very popular book.
it is. And one of the things that this book is noted for is that it opens up. It doesn't open up really, but at the beginning of the book, we hear about the murder and rape of this 15-year-old girl.
From her point of view. However you say her name, the actress, say it. Go ahead.
Yeah, Saoirse.
Saoirse.
Yeah, this actress, this little girl in the movie, her name is spelled Saoirse, I believe.
And it's pronounced Ralph, but we don't know what.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call her Fred. But her name
really? Saoirse?
Yeah, her name is Saoirse Ronan.
I'm assuming it's Celtic or something.
It is. She's Irish.
Because their pronunciations are very strange.
Shit, I thought it was Vulcan. The way her name sounds, like this shit is not. That name is not of this world. She's walking in a cornfield or some kind of field where a lot of teenagers gonna make out, and this creepy guy's following her, pulls her into this little den he's made, murders her. Next thing you know, she's running down the street and she realizes, oh shit, wait a minute, nobody notices me. She's dead. So everything that she's seeing is from her perspective, where nobody sees her. She's a ghost.
Yeah.
And they say that, now I've never read the book. I didn't even really know anything about the book until this movie was coming out. But they say that, okay, we got that out the way now. Now the book is hopeful. I mean, it's a little rough. Peter Jackson, one of his first forays into, I guess, the more serious, dramatic movies was Heavenly Creatures.
Yeah.
And it was about two girls who helped murder one of the girls' mothers.
Yeah, and that's how the film starts there. So there's definitely some, and then it flashes back to before.
And that was Kate Winslet in that.
Kate Winslet's big debut. I don't know if it was her first film, but it was her big. That was the one everyone noticed her in.
Yeah, Kate Winslet made her first debut beating somebody's mom over the head with a brick. So in this film, it takes place in 1973, and as we mentioned, we had this actress, Saoirse Ronan. I hope I said her name right. Fred. She's a happy-go-lucky girl living life like a usual 15-year-old girl would. Her father, what's his name? Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, Mark Wahlberg, yeah, Marky Mark.
Marky Mark.
Sorry, man, you did it to yourself. You're
I know.
Never getting past that. Sorry.
I know this girl's like, I'm glad I'm dead. You know, I was getting tired of us being called the Funky Bunch for so long. But no, so. She has her father's Mark Wahlberg, and Rachel Weisz is her mother, and she has another little sister, and this family's happy, very happy.
Yeah, ideally 70s happy. Time to go to school. Okay, did you get your lunch box, honey? A new lunch box.
Oh yeah,
but just like almost annoyingly normal.
They're a little bit too happy. I mean, they send this girl out in the worst clothes. She's running out the house looking like Rainbow Bright, like that fucking gnome hat she has on, which is the only trace that they found of her.
They're picturesque, I guess would be the term.
Yeah.
And of course you have to have that because you have to see what happens to a normal family when they're shook up by something that's horrible. And sure enough, I mean, like, it's really affecting watching it happen in the film, and you see it in bits and spurts. Like, you don't even know the depth of the crime until much later in the film, how horrible it really was.
Well, we know how horrible it's going to be when we see the creepy neighbor played by Stanley Tucci.
Oh, yeah.
I myself, I didn't actually recognize him. Now, I told Leon when I was watching, I was like, man, who is that? And Leon was like, Stanley Tucci, who the fuck you think it is? I was like, I can't tell.
He was all pissed off.
He was offended. He was like, he's like, yeah, you can't tell it's Stanley Tucci. And I was like, no, he looks like a rapist. I mean,
get out of my house.
I thought Leon was about to rape me with the way he was getting mad at me.
Okay, that's disturbing.
Yeah, I know, the way he was acting. You didn't see his face, but I was like, Stanley Tucci.
He's Corey Goldman, and I was raped and murdered.
Yeah.
My ghost.
I know. My ghost is in the theater. Yeah. I was raped by Leon and murdered. No, but Stanley Tucci's in this movie, and he's, to me, not recognizable. He's he has this funny teeth. He has this bad haircut. I mean, it's blondish, red, and he's got these weird glasses on. I mean, if anybody says rapist, it's this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just missing a sandwich board.
They have just sapped every bit of of Jewishness out of him completely. They've just pulled it out, and he is like a completely different person. He is, he's one of those guys. Like if you saw on the street, you'd look twice at him and go, that dude is kind of freaking me out a little bit. There's just something slightly off about him. Because it's not like he's mutated looking or anything.
I thought he was.
Well, I mean, he's mutated from Stanley Tucci, sure.
Yeah, no, he should be on like a nuclear wasteland somewhere the way he looked.
And next to Fred, he actually gives the second best performance of this film.
Yeah.
Which is more notable, I think, because in particular, the other main actor in the film, Mark Wahlberg, he just can't do this kind of stretch.
No. By the way, Stanley Tucci does have a little bit of Jew left in him. It's the rapist Jew part, but no, you're right about this, man. I mean, this is a movie where they want to do two things for us. They want to first hit us hard with this just incomprehensible crime. I mean, that's a family that has to suffer through this. I mean, we should be able to feel that pain, and then they want us to like overcome that with this family and get to the more realistic part, I guess, of, well, life can still be sort of good. You just have to learn to move on and see the good things. And that's the message, I guess, near the end that they're trying to give you. But to have that heavy of a plateau of emotions, you go from one low end to the high and back again. I mean, it's like you need actors to carry that. And a lot of the actors in here, even Stanley Tucci, as much as his performance is great, the way he came across, I thought was just overt. I mean, just too slimy. I mean, it's like I felt like somebody like that, a neighbor, should be a little more subtle. Now, I don't know how it was in a book, but in the movie, I thought it was like, this is a really creepy guy, but it's almost caricature is creepy.
Yeah, he didn't really have any depth as a person. There's nothing about him that was all that interesting.
On the other side of the performances here, we have, now Stanley Tucci's great. I just thought he was just made up to be a sort of as cartoonish as a rapist could be, a child rapist could be, but then we have
Yogi Bear.
I know, the Yogi Bear. Hey, boo-boo.
You want to come see my underground cave?
I'm going to stick it in your boo-boo. But there's Mark Wahlberg, who tries to play this too fatherly. I mean, he's so nice in the movie that every line that he gives sounds like he's talking to a baby almost. Hey, kids.
Yeah.
Hey, are you... Oh, of course everybody's happy. This is like, is he on medication or something?
And when he gets distressed and he starts freaking out more and more, it's really kind of a one-note performance. It's not that you're watching him going, it's unbelievable. It's just not that interesting. He's not really doing anything else with it. But to be fair, once again, the script's not really giving him much to do with it either.
Yeah, I agree. Rachel Weisz is good, but she disappears through half the movie.
Yeah, almost without, explanation. Like, really? You're kind of mad at her. You're like, why are you leaving?
Yeah.
And apparently it makes a lot more sense in the book. But,
it does.
But here I was like, okay, I think she's kind of a bitch now, but the movie's never going to make me feel vindicated for that or explain it to me or give me any feeling to get over that. And I feel like a lot of the movie, elements in the movie are that. There's things, it plays with your emotions and it leaves you wholly unsatisfied.
That's a good point, man, because I didn't really think about it that way. Like, I was really mad at Rachel Weisz and didn't get over that. Even they tried to make her seem appealing again. I'm like, no, that's a bitch right there. And I was mad at it too because I'm like, no, don't go. You're one of the few good performances in this movie. But speaking about over the top, Susan Sarandon, who is the grandmother, who's Rachel Weisz's mother in this movie, she comes in to take care of the family. And I know she's supposed to be a strong character, but she comes in and she just plays this so flamboyantly. I mean, she's that drunken, fun-loving grandmother that's going to show everybody how to relax.
She's supposed to be the comic relief here, and the problem is you can't have goofy slapstick comic relief in the middle of a story like this. She's just annoying. You're like, this is really inappropriate, Susan Sarandon. You need to just shut up and sit down.
Yeah, no, I mean, because she comes in and her solution for dealing with everything in this house is everybody drink.
Well, while I identify,
yeah,
I certainly think that is a valid solution for me and Susan Sarandon. In the context of the film, no, it doesn't.
No,
really
it was like a drinking game. It was like every time somebody cried, she was like, okay, drink.
You're not coping, okay? Len's worried, I'm worried. Your mother offered to help.
You invited her here? Darling. So watch there, sweetheart. Oh, look at you. Are you eating?
Is this all of it?
Don't be ridiculous. Such as my makeup. Oh, you are so handsome as hell. Okay.
Lindsay, honey, are you gonna say hello?
The child hates me. So, what'll it be, Jack?
Actually, I'm not drinking these days.
Well, that's your problem in a nutshell.
Now that's a drinking game.
Yeah.
I think we've played that one before.
Oh, we have. I
Yeah.
think we drank until we cried and drank some more. But yeah, she's there's just no there's no depth to her character at all. She's meant to play it up laughs, and that's all you do is laugh at her. And not in a good way. And there's never a moment where she seems like a real person. She seems like somebody straight out of out of a straight studio comedy.
Yeah, she's very much she's a caricature, as are most of the actors in this are cut that way. Only Fred is sorry. I every time you say the name, I'm like, yeah, that's it, and then it
Here,
just goes.
let's have a lesson here. Sear Shah.
Sear Shaw.
There you go.
I'm sure there's a roll or some sound like that somewhere, but you know, we're American, so we're gonna call her Fred.
Fred. Sorry, girl. I tried to help you out. You know.
Saoirse is really, really great though, and they do give her depth. They do make her an interesting little girl, but there's no reason for it. You know, I mean, it felt like this is going to be the kind of film where she's going to be able to reach out from beyond the afterlife and contact these people somehow, or help things, or manipulate the situation just enough to make a difference, where there seems to be some reason that we're even seeing her afterlife story at all. Like, we get some sort of, like it's giving us that much more detail about her life to make her story that much more important. But none of that stuff is really happening. Everything we know about her, we know in the first 15 minutes or so in the film. The rest is just filling out really minor, unimportant details, or just showing extended scenes of scenes we've already seen parts of.
Yeah, and you know, we talked about this before. I could understand why she was sort of bland. I mean, because first of all, I guess it's kind of a metaphor for her being a ghost, because when she was alive, like, she wasn't very special. You get that feeling. I mean, I'm sure her family loved her, but she was kind of a middle child, or the oldest child, I think. And then she also, when she goes missing, you know, her father is running the streets asking everybody, hey, have you seen this little girl? Have you seen this little girl? And I guess at the time, missing people weren't really openly discussed or that big of a deal. Like, we weren't putting it out in the open like we are right now, like on billboards. And so I guess that was another way of trying to bring in the metaphor of her being, you know, this spirit that no one can see.
It's accepted casualties for the idealistic Norman Rockwell life. Every once in a while, someone gets raped and murdered. We just shut up about it.
Yeah, we just don't see it. We sweep it right under the carpet.
Yeah, we're like, you're really embarrassing us, Mark Wahlberg. You're really making this whole town very uncomfortable with your whole, oh, my daughter's missing.
Yeah, why don't you say and just shut up and be normal? You know? Actually, it'd be funny to tell the girl that, you know, so you were raped and murdered. You know, you really embarrassing the family with this.
I would have liked to have seen that in the afterlife sequences, though. Look, we were all raped and murdered. Will you please let it go?
Yeah, there's nothing special about you, okay? Do you know where you are?
This is the raped and murdered club.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. You're in rape land.
And my apologies to any spirits who might be listening to this who were in fact raped and murdered. This is certainly not directed at them, only at the characters in this film.
I can't wait to see your version of A Christmas Carol tonight. You will be visited by 3 rapists.
Cyrus! Shut the hell up! Playing Medal of Honor.
No. Sodomy! Sodomy!
Really? What channel is that on?
But now, let's go to one of the biggest faults of the movie. I think that both of us can agree on here, which is Peter Jackson, who feels a need to bring in big special effects in areas where they're not needed.
Not needed at all. We've seen the afterlife done as a sort of, a combination of things that were inside the person's head, like the idea of like it's what they expect it to be on some level, very hallucinogenic, done much better in the Robin Williams film. I can't believe I'm saying this.
What Dreams May Come,
which is as simple and kind of silly as that plot is. Visually, it's gorgeous, and there's a lot of great big ideas there.
Can I ask you something real quick while I'm thinking about it?
Sure.
You being the porn expert that you are.
Yes.
Is there a...
God, I'm the new porno Cyrus.
That's right, you know. Is there a porno title out there called Wet Dreams May Come?
If there is, I should look for it. That would be good. Maybe there isn't. It wasn't big enough of a success to garner a porn takeoff.
Okay.
But here, they're just kind of boring. There's nothing that interesting. I referenced Terry Gilliam earlier because there are points that it feels more like he's trying to do what Gilliam does with these type of sequences than Jackson is actually comfortable with doing himself. And it's just kind of awkward and like, yeah, you're not good at that. You should, do this more like you did with Heavenly Creatures.
Yeah, I agree. The CG in this is just bad. I mean, Leon, and I love his description of it. He says it looks like a screensaver.
Yeah, it does.
There's like when she's in limbo, they take the time out to do these montages of these girls just being playful. And there's scenes of them walking down the red carpet, dressed up all fancy. They're on the covers of teen magazines, and they buy these like really just luscious trees that have these fantasy birds, and it's like, something. This scene is nothing but them just parading around. It's like they pretty much just might as well look at the camera and say, "What do you think about these special effects?"
There's nothing interesting. It feels like, in fact, that scene in particular you're talking about with where they're all like getting all their dreams, living all that out with like people taking pictures of them and everything. It felt like it came out of a Spy Kids film.
Yeah, it did.
Like a lot.
Yeah, it did. It really did. At this point, I would take something that doesn't even fit. Why don't you just throw some hobbits? You know what?
Yeah, I would have been all for that.
Why don't you have Gollum there, dancing around? I was raped too.
This whole idea of this whole project clearly came from Sauron. That was
What you say came from the depths of Mordor.
Yeah, it did.
But and it's just that's the main complaint of the movie. There's just no need for that. This is a film where the drama is what really counts.
Should be what.
Yeah, and to stop the movie just so you can just showcase a bunch of special effects where, I'm sorry, coming from a guy who directed the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and who gave us like King Kong, one of the best. I'm sorry, I didn't care about the movie, but I think King Kong was one of the best special effects that we had in the last decade.
He's a master.
When did that movie come out? Did it come out this decade? Or
yeah, it was this decade.
This decade, I think King Kong is like one of the best special effects that we've had. For him to come out with these special effects that look just like they came off of a video toaster.
Yeah, well, no, they're supposed to be dreamlike, I get that, but so what? I know that he's a visual type guy, but this is, I hate to say it, but the entire Afterlife sequence, which is half the film, is just gratuitous.
Yeah.
I don't want to. We sound like we're totally hating this film, and
we didn't.
Don't. It's got like a beautiful soundtrack. I thought. I think a lot of the cinematography is really gorgeous. There's a lot of good choices made. Fred is a really good actress, and I think she's going to go on to much better things.
Oh yeah.
She was fantastic in Atonement, and
she was.
And I think she's really good in this too, with what she's given to do. Anyway. Stanley Tucci is really good.
Mm-hmm.
There are good qualities to this film, and Peter Jackson fans, even if we gave this movie a fuck you, Peter Jackson fans, and you know who you are, the fanatics, would still go out and see it no matter what. They'd just say, Bill Crew's full of shit, I'm not listening to them anymore. But you know what? This is really my least favorite Peter Jackson film.
Yeah, I have to say that too. At this point, it misses so many marks where I think, this is a guy who, and look, I don't want to say I know Peter Jackson. I just tell you the feeling that I get. This is a guy who's worked with such grandeur with his films. It's hard for him to tackle something with subtlety like this. And, he'll get there one day if he chooses to want to go down this road, but not with this one. And I'm like you. I didn't hate the movie. All the performances that you mentioned, I agree with on. And there are moments where there are some really great scenes. As much as we talked about Mark Wahlberg and Stanley Tucci might not being either not that good or a little too caricaturish, they share a couple of scenes where it's unnerving. It really makes, I feel like really nervous when they're confronting each other because both of them know something. And no one's coming out and saying it because no one can really do anything. He doesn't want to give himself up, and Mark Wahlberg can't prove anything.
Yeah.
And those scenes are very uneasy in a good way, and they're very effective, I guess I'm trying to say. So, yeah. Did you give your rating already?
I did not. I always wait for you to do that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, then, wait no more, my friend. I give this...
About damn time.
And we talked about this before we even got to the review. High rental.
Yeah, and it's funny, we actually had talked about this a lot right after it came out, and at the time I gave it a matinee, but I've spent a lot of time thinking about it since, because Jackson really is one of my all-time favorite directors. I am indeed one of those Jackson fanboys, and, you're right, this is just a high rental. Usually when I think about a film like this more, I find reasons